Welcome back to STL TV Live. I'm Ivy Hartman, and joining me in the studio now is Stephanie Patton of the Arch City Theater Troupe and Emily Rapp from JDRF. Now, Emily, JDRF, we would formerly know that as the Juvenile Diabetes Research
Foundation.
Okay.
JDRF is the largest private funder of diabetes research in the world and really helps to set the agenda for finding a cure and for improving the lives of people with type 1 diabetes. The emphasis is actually now being taken off the juvenile part because while a child who's diagnosed with diabetes typically has type 1 diabetes, 80% of the people who are living with type 1 diabetes are adults. And half the new diagnoses every year are adults. So we want to make sure that everyone understands that this organization is for them.
And you're an adult, Stephanie, now that's newly turned 18. But actually, you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at a much younger age, at just 5.
Yes.
Talk about what it's been like for you growing up, and tell us a little more about type 1 diabetes.
Sure. Well, I was diagnosed on my 5th birthday, and it has now been 13 years. But it's I've really tried to not let diabetes get in the way of my life. You know, you have to check your blood sugar 7 to 10 times a day and give about 4 to 5 insulin shots depending on where your blood sugars are. But I really try to not let it affect my life and really do what I can to promote it and educate others on type 1 diabetes as well.
So there's a pretty nice fundraiser that you guys do annually that actually involves a local theater troupe, the Arch City Theater Troupe, which was started by a family member of yours because you became involved with juvenile diabetes.
So I got involved with JDRF when my son Turner was diagnosed when he was 10. He's 18 now. At the time, his sister was 12, Helen, and she said, well, what can I do? And in the end, you want to take it away from your child when it's your child, but in the end, you can't do everything for them.
Right.
They really have to live with it day in, day out. But Helen wanted to help, and so she, with some of her theater friends from around the St. Louis area, decided to get together and put together a fundraiser show to raise money for research. They called themselves Arch City Theater Troupe, and this year will be the 8th annual Arch City Theater Troupe fundraiser.
And it's coming up this Thursday and Friday, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. You talked about what it's like to have type 1 diabetes, but many of us also might be confused with type 2 diabetes. Can you talk about some basic differences,
Sure.
Stephanie?
Well, type 1 was formerly known as something that only children get, but now 80%, like Emily said, is actually adults. And that's a huge thing. But the difference is really that when you have type 1, your pancreas does not produce insulin at all, where if you have type 2, it might produce a little bit, but not enough to keep you stable. So you'll have to take medicine or go on insulin. But that's also, you can, with diet and exercise, you might be able to not have type 2 anymore. But type 1, you'll always have it, which is so unfortunate, but it's something you just have to live with.
It is.
Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease, and your immune system, for some reason, starts to attack the insulin-producing cells in your pancreas and kills them, and that's why you don't make insulin. And one of the avenues that JDRF is pursuing in research is how to stop that attack, and another avenue is how to replace those insulin cells that have been killed, because those two things together equal a cure.
And now, as chair of the board for JDRF, and now that you've got Turner's 18, you can see yourself continuing your commitment to JDRF. It never leaves your family.
It never leaves your family, and as a matter of fact, Turner is not the only one in our extended family who has type 1 diabetes. There is a genetic element, but something like 90% of people who are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes have no type 1 in their family.
What are some of the symptoms, just before we go, just in case, because we want to make sure also that we give the contact information?
This is very important because finding out early it keeps a person from getting very, very sick, and there are potentially life-threatening consequences. Frequent urination and excessive thirst are the two biggest keys. Losing weight when you don't expect to lose weight, and being very thirsty and just continuing to drink and continuing to eat a lot and still losing weight, those are typical symptoms that send someone to the doctor to say something's wrong.
Stephanie, how long have you been involved with Arch City Theater Troupe?
This is my 7th year performing, and it's just been so much fun, and I'm so grateful to have it in my life because it truly brings the two things I'm most passionate about in life, which is raising money for diabetes and performing on stage. So.
All right. We want to make sure that everybody is aware that Stephanie will be performing this Thursday and Friday. That's August 9th and 10th, and that will be taking place at Nerinx Hall there in Webster Groves. The performances on Thursday, August 9th are at 7:30, and on August 10th, There's one at 4 and one at 7:30. We're going to tell you a little bit more. If you want more information, you can go to archcitytheatertroupe.org about the performances. No tickets prices. It's all donations at the door. It's a big fundraiser for JDRF. If you have questions, you want more information about the organization or diabetes in general, visit jdrfstl.org. You can also call them at 729-1846. I want to thank you both for being here. This is fun. Emily, you're going to stick around with us a little bit, but we're going to be able to welcome the new director of the Arch City Theater Troupe when we come back in just a minute and find out a little bit more about this fabulous show that Stephanie's performing in. We'll visit with Sally Lemkemeyer when we come back. And I want to remind you not to go anywhere because we have a fun-filled show here, but there's tons of fun-filled activities going on around St. Louis, and STL TV aims to keep you informed about those. So the best way to keep in the loop is to friend STL TV on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can always watch us streaming live on stltv.net. Keep it locked right here. We'll be right back with a little bit more STL TV Live right after this.